Thousands of platformers are released every year, but almost all of them fail. And even among the survivors, only a handful of them ever see real success. You see, platform games used to be the most fun and addicting games in the entire industry. They were easy to understand, they had smooth gameplay, and they produced some of the most iconic characters in gaming history, like Mario, Sonic, Donkey Kong, and many more characters. But now, everything has changed. You see, the problem is not that platformers stop being fun. The problem is that being fun is no longer enough. Back in the late 80s and early 90s, platform games were on an all-time high. Games like Mario World, Sonic the Hedgehog, and Donkey Kong Country ruled the industry. Platform games were not just a genre, they were the standard. But in the late 90s, a shift started happening in the industry. As hardware evolved and consoles became more powerful, more and more developers started fighting for the best graphics, the biggest worlds, and the most realism. Genres like shooters, race games, and RPGs became increasingly popular, and the platforming genre lost its position as the leading genre in the industry. Only the best and biggest platform icons who didn't hesitate to keep innovating survived. So, is this the reason why most platformers fail today? The truth is far more complicated than that. Because since the late 2000s, 2D games started becoming popular again. There's another reason why developers prefer other genres over platforming, and it has nothing to do with quality. Before the internet, you bought a game at the store, you paid, and the company will get the money. No matter how long you play the game, the company will get the same amount of money. But with the rise of the internet, everything changed. Suddenly, developers could hide extra content or cosmetics behind a paywall. If a game is free, but the average user spent $25 on a game, it would make more profit than a game which only has a one-time $20 fee. But developers didn't just hide extra content behind a paywall, they designed their game around it. They used cosmetics like coins, skins, items, and special animations to keep people spending on their game. And here's where platformers fall short. Because platformers are designed as a complete, self-contained experience, it's hard to keep people spending on the game. And there are two reasons for this. One, a platformer is a one-time experience. In contradiction to online games, a platform is something you only play for several hours before you complete the game. And two, there's no comparison. In online games, people want the newest skins, items, and weapons because they want to be the best. But most platformers don't have online gameplay, so there's no one to compare itself with, and therefore, no reason to buy extra cosmetics. Developers realize that it's way harder to keep people spending on a platform game. Platformers just weren't as profitable in the long run. But that does not mean that platformers can't make profit. You see, there's another problem with platformers. A problem that has nothing to do with graphics or microtransactions. If you look at all the console games that have ever been published, you see that 12,000 of them were released before the year 2000, and more than 85,000 games were released after that. And that is if you exclude more than 1 million mobile games and 2 million browser games. To even stand out, you don't just need to have an excellent game, you need to have a game that's different than millions of other games. Imagine you're a child in the 90s. You're booting up your SNES and you started playing Mario World. After a few months, you beat the game and you buy Donkey Kong Country. You boot up the game and you realize that the game is totally different than Mario World. The ID is the same, the basic controls are the same, but still, it feels very different. But if you look at most of the indie platformers now, it's hard to even tell the difference. There are thousands of platformers who all have the same mechanics, the same worlds, the same movement, the same art style, and so on. But why is it that so many platformers look mostly the same now? You see, as technology advanced, the barrier for creating games became lower. more and more people could start creating their own games without needing an entire development team. More people started creating games, but not everyone has the skills or talent to create an amazing game. Of course, there are always a few gems that stand out from the rest, but most of them were just too generous, too basic, and too boring. But now you may be wondering, how did games like Hollow Knight or Celeste became popular then? Because they weren't icons like Mario, Sonic, or Rayman, but still, they became very popular. There are still many amazing platformers that exist today. So the question is not, are there still good platformers, but rather, why are there just a few platformers that become so successful? To answer that question, we must look at what all the popular platformers have in common. 1. They're not good, they're excellent. There are many platformers that are good. It's actually really easy to just open GameMaker to work a few hours on a decent platformer. But if you take a close look at any popular platformer, you see that their design is extremely precise. But it's not just about good level design, it's about making an experience. 2. They feel like an adventure. Not just random levels stacked together, but as a story. Just like in any genre, the best games are the ones where you feel like you're the character. But excellence is not enough. You need more. And that brings us to number 3. They're all unique. Not just a little different, not just a different taste or gimmick, they're fundamentally different from each other. And this makes them stand out. 4. They're easy to understand before you even play them. If you look at the most successful platformers ever released, you see that they all have something in common. They're easy to understand. No long manuals, no complex controls, just simple platforming. So why is it that most platformers fail today? The answer is simple. Only the best, the most unique, and the most mechanically precise platformers survive. Which means the genre isn't dead, it just evolved into an elite club. But if you want to go deeper in why the king of all platformers, Mario, became so iconic, click this video below where we explore the secret behind Mario's success. And if you made it this far, please consider subscribing. See you next time!